All right. Well, in the Halitics, I'm Hal Ginsberg. So glad to be talking today. It is a Monday. I'm just going to get my mic adjusted a little bit. And welcome, Carlos. How are you today?
Good. How about you, Hal, on this gloomy, kind of getting ready to look like it's about to rain Monday morning?
Well, I'm doing all right. I played for you kind of a hate call I received over the weekend, I guess. And what really burned me up about it was very obscene. There were a lot of, really blue language, which I don't do. A lot of podcasters do, Carlos. I don't. But the caller accused me of being I think it was me, maybe it was a guest, of being a Biden supporter. And I mean, we all know that's not true.
Do you have something you need to tell us, Hal?
No, I've been almost, and that's sort of where we're going today. Am I too hard on the Democrats, right? Have I been too critical? We're going to focus on two U.S. senators who have been, in the news here in Maryland. Of course, that's Carlos in my home state, Maryland. Senator Angela Alsobrooks from Prince George's County. She's in the U.S. Senate. And Elissa Slotnick from Michigan is going to be visiting our state in just a few weeks. Yeah. And Carlos, I'm a little bit afraid maybe I've been too hard on those two ladies. You don't think so?
No, I don't. I don't even like that she's coming to the state. Can we send like a rejection letter or something? Be like, hey, no, just kidding.
Yeah, we're working on that. I mean, that's part of what some of the leftists and Ed Fishman, who was our co-host Friday here, friend of both of us, he's made the point to me that I'm not a progressive. You're not a progressive. We're leftists. We're to the left of progressives. Is that fair in your view? The nomenclature.
Of course. I mean, my own podcast is named Left-Handed Leftist. I'm past the progressive, let's just get along with the Democrat Party type of thing. I don't see it working.
Do you think that's the distinction? I remember 13, 14 years ago, I got into an argument with a guy who insisted he was a progressive, not a liberal. And I said, hey, they're the same thing. What is the difference in terms of policy? And his main argument, which I thought was fair, was that liberals are more about big government and supporting the Democratic Party. And I said, but progressives are for big government too. You're for Medicare for all, right? That's government program. Yeah. And we never really were able to resolve it. But I don't know, these terms kind of morph. I think what the big problem is, Carl, some of you agree with this. Sometimes what happens is the bad people, the corporatists, the centrists, in quotes, the moderates, claim to be liberal. They claim to be progressive. And once they adopt that moniker, which newspapers like the New York Times are happy to call them, then we have to say, no, we're not them. We're not Hillary Clinton liberals. We're not, Joe Biden progressives.
Ew. I don't even think those two words go together. It's kind of like, remember how during the 2020 election when you had Amy Klobuchar going out there saying she's progressive? I feel like the progressive title has just been turned into just a sticker now. That's it. I mean, it used to be where AOC would say that her and Joe Biden aren't even in the same technical party, but now she was out there campaigning for him to be the nominee when even the corporate candidates didn't want him as a nominee. So I think the term progressive kind of just means you're in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's really become, I guess, perverted or subverted. I'm not sure what the right word. Corrupted. I think what some quote progressives unquote were saying is Joe Biden's the most progressive president since FDR and crap like that. And that just basically tells you how bad all the Democrats have been since then. I don't think it's true either. Yeah, click subscribe now. Click like if any kind of interaction with our videos here helps us get through the algorithm. And also, remember, Carlos is himself now. He's got his own podcast. You can see it right there, Left-Handed Leftist. So check it out. He's doing the short thing. He's, the shorts and everything, just like me. And hopefully we're going to be building our audiences together. There'll be a lot of ferment, a lot of back and forth. Hey, when am I coming on your show? You did invite me, and I confirmed, but I can't remember now. Do you remember?
It's gonna be in like a week, like next week or the week after next. And we're recording it because we're gonna cover the elections, what's going on, who's coming on, the New Jersey one, the Virginia one, the New York City one, also the Minneapolis one too, and see what's going on.
Well, since you brought up the elections, I want to get to Gaza in a minute, but for once, now that there's sort of a ceasefire, apparently a few Gazans were killed by Israel over the weekend, but they're killing fewer, so I guess we should be grateful for that. I couldn't get the story, so I'm going to leave it. But just in terms of the elections, where do you do you have, I don't want to say optimistic, pessimistic, but like, how do you dope things out right now in New York, Virginia? We've got a situation there with the Attorney General, Jay Jones, apparently called for somebody to get shot or something. Did he say that? What he said, he was like hoping.
Text messages, like he was sending to like somebody talking about like he hoped that like the old former Speaker of the House would just die, and not or get killed or something. I mean, I'll take it in parts. The New York City one, I am believing that Mamdani's just gonna win. And do
you want him to win?
Deal.
We've talked about this. We do want him, despite, there's some progressive podcast or leftist podcasters like RBN, Revolutionary Blackout Network, who really, they don't like him. They think he's a phony. I hear that. I want him to win. I think he's better than what we've seen there. I hope
he's better than like Cuomo by
far. Yeah. Like, and you want, and you think he'll win. You're somewhat optimistic. Yeah,
I'm pretty confident he's going to win just because of polling and just how much he won the primary. And I feel like that is one of those cities. You win the primary, you've won the general. It's just that now they're making him. I don't even think the threat he's facing so far is like Cuomo may win. I think the threat he's facing really is that the governor, some of the Congress people, senators, city council people are going to make him just ungovernable, where it's like, hey, you really cannot do anything but executive order type stuff and just try to do that. But his comments are kind of sad, where he even was talking bad about pro-Palestinian protesters in regards to October 7th, was kind of pushing out like Israel talking points and stuff. He's come down on the whole defunding the police movement. He's made his shift into like some Andrew Cuomo talking point territory, which I think is very like kind of concerning. Virginia, the Jay Jones guy,
he's still leading, I think, in the polls. And
he's still leading. I mean, like he said what he said through a text message. I don't like, he wasn't doing it to me because like he's planning something. So I don't read it into it that much. And I also think it's hard for the right to read into it when they have their own crazy people who do shootings and stuff like that too. So it's kind of hard to compare one of the other. I saw the debate, like clips of it between Abigail Spanberger, who's a total corporate goon, CIA op and all that. So she's definitely not someone good on the Democratic side. And then the other candidate on the Republican side, what's her name?
Winsome Sears.
Yeah.
Sears.
Yeah. Winsome Earl Sears. Yeah. She's a nut job too. Like they're both.
Let's talk about Winsome Earl Sears, because she is a nut job, but she is a MAGA nut job, and she's one of the only MAGAs that apparently Trump hasn't seen fit to endorse. Do you see racism there? I kind of see that, but on the other hand, this is such an easy layup for Trump to just endorse the black lady and say, "Hey, I'm not racist. Look, I endorse the black lady." So,
I mean,
you wonder.
I think race probably has something to play into it, like it does with everything mostly. But I think Trump really is like, you're gonna lose and lose badly, and I don't want that to be on my record of like.
I think that's a big part of it. I think if she were more competitive, he would endorse her. I agree with you. I think there might be more pressure on him to endorse her if she were white. So I think it's a confluence of factors. But he's a winner, and she probably ain't going to be a winner. And the reason, Spanberger isn't beloved, but Earl Sears is very, very right wing. She's extreme.
Yeah. And she alienated the whole northern part of Virginia, which is like where most of the votes even come from. And now she's bleeding. And I think also her neglect to even stand up again as being one of the people who's running for governor in a DMV state, you can't not come out against the federal job layoffs when that affects your whole northern population. I mean, it's certain things that she's just not coming out against that she needs to be. But I'll say I also look at what's the name? Look at how their primaries went. They had no primary. Like Abigail Spanberger was just anointed as like, you're going to be our nominee. I think she even announced 2 years ago when she didn't run for her seat again, I will be running for governor. It seems like everyone just got out of her way. Same thing with what's her face, Winsome too. When it was weird because when Terry McAuliffe was running, you had a slate of different candidates from different ideologies, and this is Abigail Spanberger as like she's probably one of the most conservative Democrats that there is in Virginia.
She's not the worst Democrat nationally, but she is definitely center right. You mentioned she's a former CIA analyst. Interestingly, so is, I believe, Elissa Slotkin. Yep. So you have these two, up and comers, if you want to call it, who, come right out, and women, both coming out of the CIA. It's very scary. We have two war parties, basically. We have two war parties. And what's really interesting about that, and let me put this up because I said we weren't going to talk, I don't have to start with Gaza because there's kind of a ceasefire, but we'll put this up now. It does appear that it's holding for now. Hopefully it will last. I mean, this is the thing about the Democrats, Carlos, in my view, being so tight with the military, so tight with the CIA, is it's a huge opportunity for someone as really horrible as Trump to legitimately claim, hey, I'm more for peace than those guys.
Yeah. I mean, there are claims out there and people talking that Trump should win the Nobel Peace Prize. If there actually
he's the one who's saying that.
No, not just him. Not just him. The woman, the what is it? The USA backed candidate for the Venezuela presidency is getting the Nobel Peace Prize, and she has said publicly that like she believes Trump should get the Peace Prize.
Well, it tells you really what a terrible choice she was too, and I know you want to comment on that, so we'll get to that. Maria Machado, and she has a middle name, but I can't remember it now. But we'll get to that. Carlos had some thoughts on the award winner for the Nobel Peace Prize in 25. Trump's probably trying to set himself up for 26. And I'll say this: if this ceasefire between Hamas and Israel holds, and Israel stops its genocide, and if Trump somehow manages to stop Russia and broker some kind of agreeable deal between Russia and Ukraine, I think he will win the Peace Prize. Would he deserve it? I wouldn't vote for him, but it wouldn't be crazy. It wouldn't be given the record, the history of that award. If he can stop those two conflicts, neither of which he started, he'd probably be first in line for that award. Here you go. Gaza ceasefire. All living Israeli hostages freed. So far, so good as Trump arrives in Egypt for summit. I think it's good that he is going to Egypt. That's exactly the right place for him, not Israel, although he was in Israel, but also, so he was in Israel, but he also went to Egypt. So that's good. That's good. And there's some comments here I just want to share real quick, Carlos, and then maybe get to your thoughts on, whether Trump would even be a legitimate winner next year if somehow he gets a deal with Russia and the fighting there stops. But I read this in The Guardian. You can see the date line there, 10:50. I don't have it up, but this was just earlier this morning, East Coast time. So just a few hours ago, 10:55 a.m. And you can see Hamas deploys armed fighters and police across parts of Gaza. To me, this would have been a pretext for Israel to immediately claim that Hamas was violating the ceasefire. But Trump said no. Here it says Hamas has started deploying armed fighters and police across parts of Gaza in an effort to reassert authority. Now, that's not going to go over well with Israel. Israel has said they don't want Hamas to have any role whatsoever in the post-genocide, if there is a post-genocide reconstruction. They don't want Hamas to be involved. Obviously, that's just probably an excuse, a pretext for them to come up with anything they can use to kill. But Trump was like, no, this is part of our deal, and Hamas gets to be there. And in fact, there's a lot of problems, obviously. In fact, I thought his language, Carlos, I don't want to give Trump credit. Look, Trump, I can't, awful, just awful. But we try to be call balls and strikes here. Mm-hmm. I did not find these statements objectionable. So what Trump said was, when asked about Hamas reasserting authority, they do want to stop problems. They're open about it. We gave them approval. You have close to 2 million people going back to buildings that have been demolished. So I think it's going to be fine. Who knows for sure? I can't really find fault with that statement. He acknowledges how much damage Israel did with the demolished buildings. He says we approved it. I mean, I don't know what else he can say in that circumstance.
I mean, one thing that I'll say is that one thing in his statement, he didn't say the word Israel has caused X, Y, and Z. And I noticed that a lot of politicians don't want to necessarily blame Israel like by name. They kind of like say like there has been all these buildings destroyed and kind of leave it up to the person to know, oh, it was Israel who did it. But I also look and say, I actually don't agree with him getting, if this does broker some kind of deal, or it's actually a sustainable deal, that there should be a Nobel Peace Prize to him specifically, because no one has really brought peace. It's more so just brought concessions to the Palestinians and like, look, you got to take this and doing as much as you can to appease Israel to just back off. And I'm not sure how sustainable this is going to be, just because Israel still says that they do not want a two-state at all. Like they want to control the entire region. So it'll just be interesting to see how that breaks down. I do think Trump has done more than Biden. I really can't even say more than any other president, because in history, presidents have just stopped it before it got this far.
Well, Jimmy Carter, did push for and get the Camp David Accords in '77. So I always view him as the president who did the most really for Israel. Yeah, because he stopped. He did make peace between Israel, Jordan, and Egypt. And at the time, I thought that was a great thing. But now I wonder maybe it wasn't, because it freed up Israel to be even more of a oppressive state and more to persecute Palestinians to a greater degree. Just to be real clear, I don't think Trump should win the Nobel Prize no matter what, even if this does work out better than we expect. And even if there's an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine, I don't think he deserves it. But I'm just making the point, given the mess he inherited, given the record of that Peace Prize where Barack Obama got it for not being George W. Bush. Yeah, I couldn't say it's more of a travesty than some of the past awards, but no, I wouldn't give it to him.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I think, I mean, this is to me, it's just going to be something to watch. I do think it makes sense that like Hamas is trying to move its people out throughout the region of Gaza specifically, just to make sure that like if Israel inevitably does come and try to continue killing them, that there is some kind of like no, we have some like resistance in different places, so it kind of restarts it all. I'm not sure how that works, but also one thing that I think is really bad as far as like the mainstream media has been in this country is that no one really has been talking about the thousands of hostages Israel has. They kind of like hyper focus on the 20 or so hostages that are still in Gaza, but do not talk about all the Israeli, all the hostages, Palestinian hostages that Israel has, of like children, parents, grandparents, just people who are just in the actual, well, not country, but in Israel at the time.
Well, that's true. That said, I believe the agreement was that Israel's going to release over 1,000 what they call prisoners. Obviously, they're hostages as well, but the corporate media, because it's influenced very strongly, if not controlled by pro-Israel elements.
But that's only after that term. But that's only after all of the hostages, or Gaza or Hamas has released all of their hostages. So some people are even guessing Israel might mess around and say, okay, we said that. Yeah, no, you're not getting all of them. You're getting who we want to send you.
Well, that's interesting, Carlos. I didn't realize that there was first this, then that. So Israel isn't going to release anybody until they get the hostages back. From what the Guardian said, though, now Hamas has released all of the hostages from Israel. So presumably, and we'll stay tuned for tomorrow. I don't have more information. Maybe you do that. We'll get some of those Palestinians will start to trickle out of Israeli prisons. We hope that happens. I do want to get to this whole issue of being fair to Democrats, and I did say, and I think you agree. The opening, and we talked about this Friday with Ed. The opening to Trump to claim with a straight face that he's the peace president is really reflects the failings of the Democratic Party, which I never stop talking about, one of our favorite themes here. But, I want to be fair. And you can see here, this is the thumbnail. I'm going to put it right back up. I did see Senator Alsobrooks in person Saturday at a campaign launch for, maybe it was Sunday. I think it was Sunday, right, Carlos? It was Sunday.
Okay.
No, it was.
For who?
For Jeff Waldstreicher, who is a staunch Zionist in the Maryland State Senate. And he got it. It was a good get. It was Senator Alsobrooks from the U.S. Senate in support of a fellow senator, but this state senator Waldstreicher. So she showed up, which is interesting because she doesn't do a lot of public appearances. I don't think she does. I mean, they're usually very controlled, and they're in meeting rooms where there's a lot of security. This was pretty open. And I was able to just walk right in.
Probably because it was for Jeff Waldstreicher too. So they got
it was for Waldstreicher
or somebody else. Yeah,
it was for Waldstreicher, and I want to get the date. Was it Maybe it was for. No, it must have been Saturday because yesterday I went out and watched football. So it couldn't have been yesterday. So this was Saturday afternoon, and there were a bunch of burly police, though, right around her, maybe 2 or 3 Montgomery County. You said this, Carlos. I wanted to digress. We were talking, there's been a lot of talk about how bad ICE is. And you made the point, hey, local cops, they're no sweet dream either.
No, the police have been doing ICE's job for decades and have been horrible to members of the community too. But I mean, even you look at Maryland, they're ramping up on the 287G program, which allows police to basically act as ICE agents too. So, I mean, the police state, the authoritarian state has never gone away, and it's actually increasing. It increased under Joe Biden, who gave record amounts of funding to the police to basically destroy communities, and it looks like that's what we're continuing to do. I mean, even one other point is to remember when Trump kept on going to Baltimore and talking about he's going to bring in National Guard and all that. So he didn't do that, but what the governor and the mayor did was basically call in a bunch of Maryland state police to come into Baltimore. And it's like, well, hold up. How do you say that we're solving crime through nonviolent means, but then say, hey, Trump wants National Guard, we don't want them. So let's bring in our own state police to come and kill and beat up our residents?
It's really tough. I mean, the people who live in those cities and those inner cities, Carlos, you and I are both suburban guys. We don't really, we weren't in that environment. Just reading a book by, actually, guest this Thursday is an author, Eric Watts. He'll be joining me talking about his experiences growing up in really rough areas of Brooklyn, New York. And it's very it's all autobiographical. It's really, really tough. And, the people who live in those neighborhoods are often prisoners of gangs, of gang warfare, of violence in the streets. He would go to the corner store and there would be kids just waiting for him to beat him up and stuff. And it really created I'm just, what the book describes. So I understand the desire for law and order. I don't know what the solution is. Obviously, you don't want these armed thugs from the federal government in there knocking heads. Also going after peaceful people. I mean, it's not like they may be preventing some crime, but they're also creating more havoc, wreaking more havoc. I can understand why mayor, the Baltimore mayor. Now I forget his name.
Scott.
Yeah, Scott, right? Brandon Scott and Wes Moore. I can understand their desire for some break in the violence in the streets there.
I think that a lot of people for generations now, we've been kind of told that, oh, police are the way to kind of decrease violence and things like that. But really what we've seen is police are a part of that violence system. You have police who may pick up someone for quote unquote gang activity, keep them, interrogate them, all that, and then release them in like a rival gang neighborhood to be like, hey, well, you know what? Let's mess around with you here. And I think that the way that Baltimore was able to decrease its crime was through more intervention programs, more like youth engagement, more like career services, things that actually make people want to stop being a part of gang culture and life. And I think one thing that in this country, we kind of do, we look towards like short-term fixes. Like, all right, cool. There's more violence, more police, and then we're done. But we don't look at it as from a sense of, all right, cool. Once the police pick you up and you come out, if there's nothing new for you out here, you're going to go back to what you know, because that's the way you were sustaining yourself beforehand.
100%, Carlos. Absolutely. So here's my question. I did see also, Brooke. No, I'm with you on that. And the violence begets more violence. And I think there's also a desire among, many folks. Maybe you mentioned this, law enforcement. Hey, this is our job. If there's peace, then we might be out of a job. I hope most police don't see it that way. Maybe some do. But I asked her with these 2 or 3 burly officers listening in, why do you, the great majority of Democrats, 7% only support Israel. The great majority don't. Why do you support funding the genocide? And as soon as I said that, well, first she said, what did you say? I think she was surprised because this was a very friendly crowd. How great you are. Thank you for fighting fighting the Republicans and for shutting down the government. We love what you're doing there. And, so that was very positive. We were surprised to get this sort of bird dog question from me.
Right.
And she said, what did you say? And I repeated it. And then she sort of backed away a little bit. And then these officers kind of got between me and her. I'm like, what's this about? He said, this is it. It's over. You can go now. And I said, well, I just asked a question. And the officer said, the event is over. You just asked the last question, which was true. I mean, it was accurate. I was the last one in the queue. There was no one else waiting to talk to her. It was after the time had been set for it to end. So it was plausible. I mean, and They weren't rough with me. They just said, you're out of here. And they got between, and she wasn't going to entertain it. So she didn't answer. But if she had answered, she should have said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? I supported Bernie's call to stop bomb sales to Israel. And then I would have been with like, oh, never mind. Sorry, I bothered you. So was I unfair, Carlos? I mean, it is true. She did. And she issued a statement. She was one of the 24 senators who voted for the resolution to stop the bomb sale.
How she didn't even tell you that, which shows, is she one of those people who does like a lot of people were saying the Medicare for All co-sponsors did? I'm gonna sign it just to make certain people not say anything to me. I don't support it. And if it ever came to the Senate floor, do I think she would vote for it? I don't know. I mean, because you would think if you did, the quickest thing to shut it down would have been, oh, I supported Bernie Sanders, or I supported the Block the Bombs Act, and just call it a day. But I think that it shows her not speaking on it shows that she probably doesn't even believe in it or doesn't really care. It's not her big thing.
I think that's very fair. I think it's a very fair response. And, I heard from, another mutual friend of ours that, it's tough. It's tough to answer these questions when you bird dog people and they feel like they're threatened and all that. But, the thing is, this is an opportunity for her to engage and do exactly what you said. Hey, I get it. I'm really upset about what Israel's done too. I know I campaigned as a supporter, but guess what? I did support Sanders when he said, let's pass these joint resolutions of disapproval. So
And she's been elected multiple times before. So it's not like this is her first time being in office and, oh gosh, it's scary for someone to come up to me. She used to be the county executive of Prince George's County, used to be the state's attorney of Prince George's County. I'm sure she's used to people coming up harsher than you ever probably would have.
I wasn't harsh.
Yeah,
I wasn't harsh.
I'm so she's used to people coming up to her yelling at her about stuff.
But here's the thing, Carlos. I have a lot of issues with Senator Alsobrooks. When she was county executive in Howard County, her reputation was that of a developers politician, somebody who took a lot of money from the real estate developers and approved gentrification projects that pushed out lower income residents. She was a supporter of the casino project, which is very, very hard on the lower income residents. If you have a family member who is a gamaholic, they may spend your rent money, the food money. It's a very regressive tax. She supported it. So I have a lot of problems with Senator Alsobrooks.
Type of county executive supported curfew laws being put in place, ramping up of the police too. Yeah, no, she was in my account, she was horrible. I'll say that.
That said, though, don't we have to be right? I mean, when we're going to go after her, say, well, you support the genocide. She did have a quick response. She didn't give it, to her discredit. She didn't give it, but she could have. And maybe that is, like you said, to her discredit. She should have given it and then engaged in a dialogue.
I don't think she probably. The only reason I could see you not standing on that is that you don't support it. You're signing it because you feel like, all right, cool, this will calm whatever level of the base that cares about this. It'll shut them up. Be like, hey, I'm supportive. It's just like if you went up to a congressperson who signed Medicare for All and then saying, why don't you support Medicare for All? The quickest thing to say is, oh, I signed it. I co-sponsored it. Instead of being like, I'm done.
Get your facts straight. Yeah. Get your facts straight, sweetie, before you come after me. Let me put this thumbnail back up here that we used. I just want to say that is a good picture of Senator Alsobrooks. It certainly does how she looks, except now she has braids, which I liked. I want to just say, for what it's worth, and probably nothing at all. Her hair was braided, which I thought looked good. But the bigger point here, and she has been fighting the Republicans to a degree. But is this the best we can hope for? I guess, is that where we are right now? Is somebody who is a front for corporate interests, and basically.
I mean, yeah, kind of in the Democratic Party, kind of is that's like top tier. Is that you are socially liberal but conservative on economic policies, and you serve corporate donors more than you serve the actual people of the of your constituents. I mean, Angela Alsobrooks or not even her. Let's take Chris Van Hollen. One of the best Maryland has probably seen as far as immigration is concerned, as far as the genocide is concerned. He's on the right side of it. Still does not call it a genocide, which is a mark against him, but he is no different when it comes to actual policies other than like your corporate candidates, like your corporate establishment.
Well, they'll go so far, but when it comes to a situation where their vote really might make a difference, so often they're AWOL. And that goes unfortunately, for Chris Van Hollen. Let me, returning back to Alsobrooks real quick, does she get any slack in your view? One of the other defenses I had heard for her, it's tougher for Black politicians to say no to Israel, to call out Israel. It's tougher for them. Why? Because they'll be called anti-Semitic.
How everyone gets called anti-Semitic. I don't view the difference. I think if anything, it's easier in my mind, for Black people, maybe because I am Black, but it's easier for us to stand up and talk about the genocide going on, because we even have civil rights leaders in history that we can point to say, I'm doing this because the people before me were against this. And
I've heard the argument that it's worse if a Black leader doesn't speak out against Israel because of the history of oppression and persecution that Blacks have faced in this country, which is similar to, although, obviously much longer, but similar in many ways to what the Palestinians are now experiencing. Obviously, there are differences as well. But the argument is, well, hey, we should know better because we're members of a minority in this country that have been victimized, just like the Palestinians. We should know better. Now, I make that argument about Jews. I say, hey, Jews, all we do is talk about all the times that we've been threatened with genocide, and we were slaves in Egypt. The Persians, Haman wanted to kill us all. They were going to slay them for whatever, all of this. So and we were in Germany, there was a Holocaust. So given that, we should be more sympathetic to the Palestinians. I understand that argument. I'm like, I don't know. Either you're on the right side or the wrong side. In the end, you have an obligation morally to do what's right.
That's it.
Whoever you are.
I do not believe it is a thing of like, it's harder but okay. Do I think that you are probably more quickly to be labeled anti-Semitic if you're Black than if you're white? Probably, just because of how our society is racially. Do I think that there's also a lot of cover for Black people who are anti-Israel? Yes, because of our civil rights history, because of the people who you can call on. You can call on Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Malcolm X, all the civil rights heroes to be like, hey, they stood against this apartheid state because of what we've experienced and because of my culture, history, blah, 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 blah. I do not see a reason why anyone would be supporting what's going on. But I also think that the reason that you have so many Black people supporting it is the money that they're getting from AIPAC, the money that they're getting from Zionists. I mean, one of the people, Hurry, Hadgu, when he was on my podcast, was telling me about how Elijah Cummings had a nonprofit set up to actually take that would actually have Israel or like AIPAC or whatever Zionist group it was fund Black high school students to go to Israel to learn about the culture, the history, and basically make Zionists out of young high schoolers. So it is been pervasive in history and culture. I mean, we've had Zionists go into Black culture many a times and try to make us into the next level of Zionism.
Well, and you see disgusting. Obviously the same thing with whites. There's plenty of lots white Republicans who are totally bought off, paid for by Israel. So it both sides.
Everybody.
So it doesn't matter what color you are. You can be corrupted, and we see a gazillion examples of it. It's unfortunate because I love to see and you always hear me talk about this, marginalized people joining together against their oppressors rather than, as we see so often, being rather easily bought off. It's very unfortunate. We're fighting that.
Amounts of money.
Carlos and I are fighting that every single podcast we do. That is what we're all about. All right, let's go from a Black senator to a white one. Here's Slotkin.
Oh gosh.
And she, like Spanberger, a former CIA agent, she is coming to Montgomery County next month. I've talked about this a couple times on this program already. I'm wondering if I've been unfair to her, Carlos. Same deal here. So she got an F from the Palestinian rights group that grades everyone. She got an F. Interestingly, Chris Van Hollen, I think, only got a D. So they're hard graders, I guess. I mean, maybe that's fair grading, really.
I mean, it's kind of fair. I mean, doesn't he also he talks about them, but also votes for their funding too?
Still votes for the weapons, right? It's fair. It's totally fair. I thought they were too generous to AOC, giving her a B. I wouldn't have done that. Yeah, they gave 2 A's to Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. So
makes sense.
There's Slotkin. Here she is in a less flattering picture, one she didn't choose, from AIPAC, $656,000. Now, I use this meme to conclude that she had no business being invited by the Montgomery County Democrats to a fundraiser to be their featured speaker and to help raise money. But I want to play a clip. This is from our friends over at Breaking Points. By the way, we're going to get a nice clip from Carlos as well, from Nico House. I'm going to play all of it, but we'll play some of it about the Nobel Prize winner from Venezuela. But here is a video segment from the interview there with Crystal and Sagar, and they're getting a lot of praise. They got a lot of praise for this and how they like totally torched her and made her look terrible. I didn't see it quite that way. I want to play this clip and see what your thoughts are.
Your staff is telling us, do you think AIPAC should register as a foreign lobby?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that I know plenty of people who think they should. Mm-hmm. I don't.
It's kind of a cop-out answer.
Right, I'll stop it. So Sagar just said there, it's a cop-out answer. You agree with that? You think she should absolutely know the answer to that question?
Yeah, it's a definite yes. That they only AIPAC, DMFI, all those groups only care about our how much we are going to, as a country, benefit Israel. There is no. They care about American policy or things that go on locally. They're not worried about our tax rates and all that in this country. Their main concern is to never end the funding of genocide. I mean, and also for her, I hate that answer from like politicians who'll be like, I don't know. I've heard a lot of people who think we should though. And it's like, so do you agree with a lot of people you're hearing from? And also you don't state, I've heard a lot of people against it either. It's just, hey, I know people support that. I'm not going to say it's me, but, I'll leave you to kind of allude to what I'm talking about.
I think it's a cop-out. I agree with you. I think I would have accepted that answer at that point and maybe said to her, okay, well, are you going to be studying it? Is this something you're going to look into? Because they obviously have an outsized influence over our elections. If they have to register as foreign agents, there's all sort of limitations on their activities. Clearly, they do lobby on behalf of Israel, but the counter argument, I guess, is the donations come from the United States. I don't know. I mean,
JFK called for us. What didn't JFK call for like groups like AIPAC and those similar like? Oh no, he was calling for like Israel to be looked at as like a foreign lobby amongst.
I don't think RFK was. RFK was always
no, not him. JFK,
the president back like in the 60s.
Yeah,
I never knew that. That's interesting.
Yeah. I think he was saying like we need to be careful of like the Israel lobby and stuff like that. But I'll double check as we talk.
That's very interesting. And that was before obviously Israel became as influential and powerful as it is now. Those always had a lot of influence over our country. So not a great answer from Slotkin. I'm not quite as offended by it as you and Sagar, but I get why you don't like it. I don't like it either. Let me play some more though.
I just guess I'd have to look at the definition. I certainly have had my tough moments with that organization. And
so you stop accepting their funding?
So the question there was, will you stop accepting their funding? And, it looked like she was getting their funding, but let's listen to her answer here, Carlos.
You got to get your facts straight. I have not been endorsed by AIPAC. I have not. I'm sorry. I was the first Jew elected to the Senate that was not endorsed by any Jewish group. AIPAC, J Street.
You've been the recipient of their funds.
In 2018, when I first ran, people who were members, yes. But I've not been endorsed since then. And I just got to be honest, I think that this is where facts really matter. I've had very, very difficult conversations with my colleagues in that organization and made a choice back in 2021. So that was the first time I was up for re-election. So I understand that there's a sort of cornered position, but to me, I call balls and strikes as someone who served in the Middle East.
I do.
But I'm going to stop it there. So she never comes out quite and says, I don't take any AIPAC money. But I did some more research, and as far as I could tell, Carlos, I wish she had been a little clearer. It wasn't a great answer. But as far as I could tell, she has not received more money from a specific AIPAC or directly connected groups since 22. So how does that impact on, assuming that's the case, I couldn't find it from Track AIPAC. It seemed like that 656 number was from her first 4 years as a U.S. Senator. Does that change your view at all on her?
No, not really. I mean, I think that when you look at the, not even the money that she gets, but when you look at her policies and her stance, I feel like at this point, if AIPAC isn't giving money to her, it could be, well, we've already bought your views on it, and you're sustainable to what we say. So why would we invest more money in it? I don't see her as someone who is, to me, she is a good politician in the way that she can kind of like talk around answers, but she is a CIA, what do they call them, spooks or something? Like they have a different word for like CIA goons. Yeah, she's not going to be the good on the genocide. She doesn't want to call it that. In that same kind of conversation that they had, they were pressing her on whether she thinks that it's ethnic cleansing, and then at one point says like, yeah, I think that there are some, like, you can see it as like ethnic cleansing. Then when they asked her that in the later on clip, she was like, oh no, I never said that. It's not ethnic cleansing or genocide. So I think she's trying to have her cake and eat it too.
She did not, unlike Alsobrooks, who gets some credit for voting in support of the joint resolutions of disapproval against disapproving the sales of bombs to Israel. Slotnick didn't even vote for those. She was on Colbert. Although she said she would have voted for them, and she regretted that she was not available to vote for them.
How does that, well, real quick, how does that work? Because that seems like if one of us had to be at our job for something and then they found us at like a late night show, I feel like at that point it's like, hold up, so you're missing work to go like have fun? How does that go?
Well, I mean, I guess the defense is our criticism is those votes don't matter anyway. They're meaningless. It's not, you're not stopping nothing. So go ahead. Hey, party on, right? I mean, smoke them if you got them. It's not going to matter anyway. I guess that would be the response.
I think they should have to ask them that on those like conversations. Like, it would have been great if Stephen Colbert asked her, so how does it feel that you're missing work to have a conversation here with us today? Do those votes not matter to you?
But he's a total, he capes for these people. He's like their protector, he was, except for Mamdani. He was much nicer, of course, to Trump than he ever was to Mamdani when Mamdani was on that program. I want to get to, but before, just here's, I try to be, like I said, I try to be fair. I try to look at everything, in context. These politicians, they're not brave people. I mean, although I guess you give Slotnick and Spanberger credit for having, I guess, being a CIA spy, I guess is dangerous, can be dangerous. But they're not brave when it comes to standing up to wealth and power, money and power. No. Do we expect too much? I mean, is it just that you can't get people who are going to go all the way, for workers? Even Bernie, he doesn't. He's mutes his message. He definitely, at some point Chuck Schumer says jump. Bernie says, okay, well, I'm 85 years old. I can't get off the ground, but I'll do the best I can.
Oh, that was good. I like that one. That one was good.
It's true though.
I mean, it is, but I think it's the opposite. I think because we expect so little of them, that this is how they act. If Bernie Sanders knew the people of Vermont were not going to vote for him again unless he stands as an independent senator, I think he would act differently. If the Democrats thought that their voter base would actually turn against them if they didn't do what they promised to do millions of times to them, I think that they would act differently. I honestly think it's a difference in how people act, where there used to be more of a, no, I'm going to hold you to what you say. Now people kind of let their politicians do whatever, and we all chalk it up to like, well, hey, their politician wants it and you can't expect much. So, take what you get. And it's like, no, I'm not going to take what I get. I'm paying. I don't like that theory of it, but like, we're paying your salary, but also you make laws that affect us. So it is up to us to hold you accountable to what you tell us.
Why don't we hold them accountable? Why are we so willing to take the turd sandwiches they hand us and say they're ham on Swiss? I don't get it.
I think that for so long we have seen nothing move when it comes to economic policy, when it comes to actually like passing legislation to make lives better for people, that over the years people have like in their own mind came to a conclusion of nothing actually is going to happen. So the best we're going to get is culture issue here or there, which I'll even say this: culture issues, we don't even see elected officials are the ones who are passing that. If you're talking about gay marriage, that was a Supreme Court decision. You talk about Roe v. Wade, that was a Supreme Court decision. It isn't like our elected officials are actually doing this cultural thing. Even getting rid of Roe v. Wade, something Republicans have been saying was their plan the whole time. They didn't go through Congress to do it. They just put enough people on the Supreme Court. So at this point, it's kind of similar to what Hillary Clinton said, was like, look, even if you hate me, you want that Supreme Court seat, because they have made it so it's only certain things that these elections are really ever about.
Yeah, that's a great point, Carlos. And actually, that is legitimate, I guess, a legit argument to vote for Hillary under those circumstances. Although you hate to give it to her, but
hate it.
All right, we're going to end the program with the topic Carlos gave me, which is the latest Nobel Peace Prize winner. But in terms of the fecklessness, the cowardice that we see from our Democratic electeds, how much blame should we put on the media? This is a story that actually is being covered here by Azerbaijan. I guess that's from Azerbaijan, but it's of a drop site news story, which I didn't get the quotes from. Apparently, it's been confirmed. You have New York Times journalists, I mean, CNN will leave them out for a moment, I'm same thing, that are actually training other journalists, up and coming cub reporters, how to cover Israel in a pro-Israel manner. This seems like such an incredible violation of every journalistic ethic. They're getting paid. This group created by the Zionist Karsh, Jackie Karsh, and I guess her husband, I'm not sure. They're paying New York Times reporters who cover Israel, how they're paying them to train other journalists to cover Israel in a positive light. That's such a violation of the idea of objectivity in your journals. How doesn't this kind of, I mean, I don't know how you have a democracy, how you have independent politicians if the so-called left media itself is in the pocket of a genocidal state.
Yeah. I mean, this even goes back to the point that we were just talking about, to where it is us expecting less of politicians, but also the media not holding them to any account. So if the media is just going along with the politicians say, then what chance do we have of even knowing the truth about what's going on? But even to your point here, we've known that the media is a corporatized media. They go to whoever the ad dollars are taking them. And we've even seen Israel, giving out $7,000 or $7,000 to $10,000 to like influencers to try to make it so that they make their case. We have seen the media is not here for, I'll say this, the mainstream media is not here for us as like residents or just citizens. They are an arm of the corporate establishment. They are an arm of capitalism, of just whoever feeds their banks the biggest, they're going to go along with them. And for right now, that seems to be Israel and Zionists as well.
Well, it also explains very clearly why, if anyone was wondering, the Times has been utterly unwilling to embrace Zohran Mamdani, utterly unwilling to support his candidacy in any way, and has consistently tried through its stories to undermine his election. So,
and also you have to look at the Zionists that own these news sites and work within it too. Like Zionists are very, very much so intertwined with mainstream media.
Yeah, I wonder about something else, Carlos. So. Yes, Jewish Americans, I'm Jewish, are very wealthy. We have outsized amount of wealth and power. But so many American Jews don't support Israel, right? I mean, like myself and many, many others, many of the campus rallies against Israel and for Palestine were led by Jewish, or if not led, included many Jewish students. Jewish Voice for Peace is a important ally in the movement.
Yep.
So why then do the billionaires, all of them, right? There's not one, as far as I can tell, there's not one pro-Palestine, anti-Israel billionaire. Do you get that? Because I honestly, I don't have an answer. I don't understand that.
Really? Yeah. I mean, well, but one, I definitely want to not conflate Judaism with Zionism, because you have a lot of Christian Zionists who are Zionists for their own kind of weird, it seems evil kind of reasons of the
rapture.
Yeah, the rapture and all that. So it's kind of evil to a point on what they want to happen to Jews. But you have a lot of Zionists who, I think the wealth has a part to do with it, where you get in these rooms and you're not hearing from different points of view. You're hearing people who are either going to reinforce their view, or people with enough money to make sure that that's the only view that you see. And as you see, the wealthier people get, the least they care about other people. So it could be that too. It could just be a lot of these billionaires are at the point, I don't care about Palestinians. I don't even care about maybe Jews. All they care about is just the money, and they see the other Zionists are people with money, so they relate to them as people. I don't really know.
I really honestly don't have an answer. I will note Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, was a Syrian American. He may have been born in Syria. I'm not certain about that. I don't believe he was Muslim, though. He might, I always wonder, well, he was Syrian. Would he have had a different take than so many of the billionaires in this country who seem just absolutely tied to Israel and supportive of Israel, even those who aren't necessarily Jewish? All right, let's get to the Nobel Prize. You brought this story up, and you said, well, I guess we're both obviously glad it's not Trump, but this winner you're not happy with either, Carlos. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with the Nobel Prize.
Yes, and I always wreck people's names, so I try not to use them. But do you know her name?
Well, let's play. I'll tell you what. Let's start this clip with Nico House. I won't play all of it, but he does introduce the situation well, I believe.
All right, awesome.
8 വർഷത്തിനുള്ളിൽ 7 രാജ്യങ്ങളിൽ ബോംബാക്രമണം നടത്തിയ ബരാക് ഒബാമയ്ക്ക് സമാധാന നോബൽ സമ്മാനം നൽകി.
Is there some reason that's in? I think that's Arabic, right?
Yeah, that's weird.
But did I see now? I think what may have happened. I'll get that video up in a sec, Carlos.
No,
but
I can talk about it.
I believe Maria. I can't remember her last name. We'll get it. We'll get it for folks. Yeah. Sorry about this little confusion here. That is I think what happened was
Maria Machado. And I can talk about it while you get all that squared away. But so what we have is Maria Machado, who was the former deputy of the National Assembly of Venezuela. She has been either probably not nominated. It's come out that she will be winning the Nobel Peace Prize for her quote unquote work to save democracy within the country of Venezuela. It's gotten a whole lot of backlash from the left or anti-war people too, because Maria Machado was the U.S.-backed candidate for the presidency of Venezuela. And as we've seen, there has been a strong push from the United States, from both parties actually, to deem Venezuela a terrorist state, an authoritarian state. They have
Marxist, communist.
Marxist, communist, all the words to mean somewhat on the left, and also a dictatorship too. Now, I will say that the current Venezuela president, Nicolas Maduro, has been the president for, I believe, around 20 years or so. So he has, and there has been people who come out from his country talking about how this is an authoritarian dictatorship. Like it is, the people are kind of controlled, and there is a sense of that he is the president until he's done being the president. But I will also say that and some other people I've been listening to have been talking about how to a point you have to be authoritarian when you have a country like the United States coming against you, because any small faction of dissent the U.S. can pump in money and pump in operatives to build up into a coup. And we've been seeing the Venezuelan coup start to grow by Donald Trump's bombing of Venezuelan boats. There has been a ramping up of amongst the Secretary of State Marco Rubio to push back on Venezuela and call for regime change. So to a lot of people, this kind of awarding her of the Nobel Peace Prize only fuels this kind of sense of that, oh, this is a terrorist state, and this is something that like people should fight against as well.
Yeah, because she's fighting against Maduro, but in support of the U.S.-backed, I guess, capitalist, crony capitalist, imperialist rule in that country. So, and I agree with what you said, by the way. I just want to underline that. It's really hard to judge. Look, we all want peaceful transfer of power. We all want democracy where you have, new leadership, new presidents at fixed intervals. But if you are up against the Goliath, you're up against the U.S., the great Satan. Sometimes if you give an inch, they're going to stick that wedge in and completely just subvert your country and take it over completely. So I'm not defending autocrats, but they're in tough positions often because of the way the United States acts. If we were a better neighbor, if we treated countries with some kind of dignity and worked with their leadership to make life better for the working people in those countries, we probably would see a lot more democracy around the world. We would see a
also
lot more
look at the amount of sanctions that we put towards Venezuela, to where they are not able to bring in the amount of money that they would to be able to sustain themselves and build up the people power that maybe the people don't want Maduro. But you look at it and say, what other option do we have in some cases as well? And even the Maria has called for Israel to come in to take over her country, to attack her country. So I mean, like, at what point are you not calling for peace? You just want to be in charge. So,
by the way, I like the headline here, the White House. Not a very subtle dig at Obama, right? From the very same Nobel Peace Prize committee. So we were talking about Obama getting that Peace Prize. Obviously, Nico House not thrilled with that. Here we go. Let's play the clip. Oh, why are we not hearing this? Okay, we got more problems. Did you hear that, Carlos? Because I wasn't.
Did not hear a thing.
We're going to have to
See, this is what happens when we talk about the Nobel Peace Prize.
I kind of crazily here. I'm going to try something different here. What did I do wrong? I must have. I think I must have downloaded it
in another
language. In Arabic, which is so weird.
Wow. Oh, now I can't even hear you.
Yeah, there we go.
There
Man,
we go.
Everything's going wrong, Carlos. I'm pressing the wrong mute button, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that. And
see how it was
got too many balls in the air. You see, that's why you're smart.
On top of the Nobel Peace Prize.
Riverside, right? Riverside is the one you like. That's got to be better.
Barack Obama, who bombed 7 countries in 8 years, comes the news.
All right, we're going to get it now. I'm just going to show everyone everything in 1 sec. Yes, we're jackpot, right? Let me see if I can want to get this whole now. See, oh man. All right, the deck is there.
Ooh.
We're almost there. So tell me about Nico. I don't ever watch that
really
podcast. What is?
No, he's good.
Very
he does a lot of foreign
left.
Policy. Yeah, he's very left. He does a lot of foreign policy. Actually, was one of Bernie Sanders' people back in the day. Actually, he lives in Brazil now. So like he does like mostly foreign policy of like South America, stuff like that going on. Very anti-corporatist, anti-capitalism. So yeah, really good.
I guess if he's in Brazil, he's hanging out with Glenn Greenwald, who's also there.
Oh yeah, they're friends, I think.
That makes sense. It's interesting that he worked for Bernie. I would have thought he's to the Bernie's left, but I guess Bernie used to be a little further to the left than he is now. Let's play the clip. Let's see if we can finally get this to work.
from the very same Nobel Peace Prize Committee that gave the prize to Barack Obama, who bombed 7 countries in 8 years, comes the new Nobel Peace Prize winner, Maria Corina Machado, who didn't bomb 7 countries in 8 years, but just asked other countries to bomb and go to war with their own country. And why did they decide to give the Nobel Peace Prize to Machado? For her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela, and for her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from a dictatorship to democracy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the same Machado who literally tried to install Juan Guaido in 2019 when elections weren't even being held in Venezuela, just because she didn't like the fact Maduro was president. This is the same Maria Machado who constantly refers to Venezuela's government as a dictatorship, despite the fact she herself was part of the National Assembly, which is Venezuela's legislative body, ladies and gentlemen. She was only expelled from her position because she decided to deliberately violate the Constitution of Venezuela. This is the same Maria Machado.
I'm going to stop because obviously Nico House thinks she's a really terrible choice, and I would agree based on that video. Otherwise, I know nothing about him. But one thing I thought was interesting, and you may have mentioned this, Carlos, apparently, I mean, Trump wanted the award for himself, so he's mad about that. But as I understand it, Rubio likes her, but there are other people in the administration who actually did not think she was a good choice. Are you aware of that, or that's not something
I didn't hear
aware
that part. I did hear that who was a Marco Rubio, and it was somebody, maybe Mike Pompeo were the ones who like submitted her name to win the Nobel Peace Prize. They were supportive of her getting it. And I mean, it makes sense too, because it furthers having her win and being seen as like the true president of Venezuela. It kind of furthers the US's own kind of mission of having regime change, because if you have on a national stage that people do not see Maduro as the rightful president, and I'll say this as a full disclaimer, I am not saying that Nicolas Maduro should be the president of the country, given how long he's been president, given that he does have a authoritarian kind of like sides to him. I just don't believe that giving her the Nobel Peace Prize makes sense when she is not trying to, it seems like, install peace. More so, she's trying to just push the U.S. agenda onto Venezuela.
Yeah, it's disappointing, and we're seeing these institutions that are clearly corrupted as well. And the Nobel Peace Prize usually considered, the ultimate award for the greatest.
Who started
people, that? Someone like, Dr. King, right? Person of that stature, Nelson Mandela, who have won it. I believe Gandhi won it. But when you give it to these fighters for the plutocracy, for the billionaires, you obviously water down whatever. I
don't think politicians should probably get it. I think
that's an interesting take, because what if you have a politician who really does make, do something like an Abe Lincoln? I mean, obviously he was before they gave the awards, but
I think that for them, it's like you're, to a point, the people in your country will recognize you, and also you're not doing what you're doing without the backing of your country as the president or as a politician. As a person, for Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi to do what they did as just citizens, compared to what Abraham Lincoln was able to do with the backing of the then U.S. military and all that. I think there is some like differences that we could look at and say, as a politician too, you're beholden to too many other people to be able to fully be a voice of just peace.
I think you make a great point. I'm convinced. I am. I mean, I don't know where I would draw the line. I mean, maybe if you had like a judge who did some really great thing, maybe we would.
Is it weird that we have the Nobel Peace Prize? Like, is it weird that we have that as a thing, or should it be more like Like who to me is this organization that determines who gets it and who doesn't? Because I'm sure it's many people all over the world who none of us know about who is actually installing peace and stuff like this. Yeah.
The thing is, the committee and the whole Nobel Prize, framework is backed by Western governments and Western institutions, Western charities and the like that give it millions of dollars. So they have to be careful not to offend the donors. And if you gave money to some champion of self-determination in a third world country, which included nationalizing the factories and the resources, you'd be pissing off the people who actually pay the salaries of these judges, and they have a pretty nice, sweet life there. And Stockholm, they don't want to give it up.
I just looked it up. The composition of the Nobel Peace Prize, I guess, board it has 5 members who are appointed by the Norwegian Parliament. So this is like a full-on Norwegian kind of thing. So yeah, to me is also, I highly doubt you're going to have Norway give the Nobel Peace Prize to someone who they have who is a foreign adversary of theirs, or someone that they do not align with as a country. So
yeah, I mean, I think the big issue there is really just the funding. Is that you always in the end are going to give your donors an outsized voice.
Oh yeah,
in your decisions, and we see that clearly. Yeah. All right, Carlos, it was great having you on. When's your next Left-Handed Leftist?
Actually, the teaser to our new episode just came out today. The episode is called Efficiency or Chaos, a Former Federal Employee's Perspective. I'm joined by Tamara McKinney, talking about her experience working for the federal government for many years. She actually retired out while Trump is president now. So it's like her experience before and after leaving, what it's like, what she went through, what she saw from like the Doge people coming in and stuff like that. So it's a full-on perspective. The full episode comes out Wednesday, but you can catch the teaser clip that is out now and on all streaming platforms. The one platform I have not gotten on yet is Amazon, and for some reason it is just not going through with them. So I don't know. Well, Jeff Bezos said we're not going to do this anti-billionaire talk.
You'll get there. I just wanted to, I was looking up the funding right after I said, well, the funders. So they do take donations. They take money from outside sources. The original foundation was funded by the estate of Alfred, I believe, Nobel, who may have been the inventor of or certainly profited greatly from dynamite. He was a guy who sold dynamite all over the world and got really rich doing that. But they have gotten grants from foundations as well. So I'm sure that plays a role in their decision making. Some of the decisions, like I said, have been really good. Others, not so
really
much.
Bad. Oh, and I'll also clarify this too. When we're talking about John F. Kennedy and the Israel lobby, he challenged influence of the Israeli lobby, most notably by directing his administration to pressure the American Zionist Council to register as a foreign agent as well.
I didn't even see. I guess the laws were so different back then. I don't even remember. Well, I wouldn't remember because I wasn't alive. But yeah, I wasn't aware that they were going through those kind of machinations. Kennedy was an interesting guy. Who knows what kind of a president he would have turned out if he hadn't been assassinated. Well, obviously, it's one of those situations we could never, ever, ever know the answer to. It's always great having Carlos on. I really appreciate his time. And please do check out the Left-Handed Leftist. There's a lot of worse things you could spend your time doing and not a whole lot of better ones. So check that out. Everyone else, thank you so much or everyone, including those who are going to check out Carlos. Thanks so much for being part of Halitics. I'll be back tomorrow. We do have Arlen. We were concerned Arlen might not make it for the free-for-all. Well, he wouldn't be the free-for-all. Arlen Tuesday, but he will be on tomorrow. So thanks, awesome. Carlos. Yeah, we'll look forward to Arlen tomorrow, and I'll be back. Thanks for being part of Halitics. Oh, I didn't get my background music. Lots of tech issues, no background music. We didn't get the video from House correctly. Here it is.
It's all right.